Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. Today we are talking about what the perfect plate for weight loss looks like. But first, I want to apologize for using a title with the word perfect in it because perfection is a rigid, unyielding lie that will literally ruin all of our lives. So if you have any shred of affection for yourself or the people with whom you coexist, please give up on Speaking of which, give up on perfection now and forever before it leaches every last drop of happiness and satisfaction from your short, precious human life. Okay, sermon done. Let's talk about food. Since we have chosen to abandon calorie restriction and appetite denial, we have arrived at the question, what the frick do I eat then? General answer, whole plant foods. But I imagine since you're here, you're after more specifics. First, however, I want to point out what you won't find on my plate. Hyperpalatable processed foods. We've talked a bit about these in past videos. So with my weight in mind, I avoid virtually all foods that contain brain hijacking combinations of fat, sugar, and salt. Those are foods like cakes, candies, donuts, chips, commercial breads, jams, jellies, sauces, everything that is sold at carnivals and the Cheesecake Factory. All of those hijack the body's natural appetite regulating mechanisms, and I take a hard pass on all of it, which felt especially important when I was in the early days of learning to function psycho-emotionally without relying on hyper-palatable junk foods to modulate my emotions. The other important thing that's missing is oil. I don't cook with oils of any kind because oils are concentrated calories. Yes, even the healthy ones. Not only do these calories add up very, very, very quickly, but fat also impedes the function of insulin, pushing the body towards insulin resistance. Some people seem better able to cope with the addition of oils in the diet, but I am not one of them. My blood sugar goes wonky really fast, my skin breaks out, and I will gain weight so fast if oils are a part of my diet. Okay, so now that we've covered what isn't on my ideal weight-conscious plate, let's dive into what is. In previous videos, we've talked about the value of shifting our dietary goals away from calorie restriction and towards maximizing micronutrient and fiber intake. On a healthy, sustainable, whole plant food diet, the most effective way to maximize micronutrient and fiber intake is by maximizing non-starchy vegetable intake. So non-starchy vegetables are packed full of nutrition and they are bulky, which means that they stimulate both nutrient and stretch receptors in the stomach and small intestine, triggering satiety. Since non-starchy vegetables are relatively low in calories, this means that they're an ideal food for increasing end-of-meal satiation without derailing weight loss goals. This concept most often translates onto my plate in the form of half of my plate, or what I affectionately refer to as my gorging trough, being at least 1/2 non-starchy vegetables in the form of a gorgeous salad, a veggie stir-fry, or a large pile of steamed greens. Another impressive source of micronutrients and fiber are legumes. So I am so impressed every single time I look at the nutrition facts of any bean. Just wow, bean. They have so much to offer nutritionally, and they are so filling, and they're so willing to accept all the flavor. Studies have found that beans are actually one of the best foods for weight loss and weight maintenance, not to mention the incredible health protective benefits that they exert against our society's most common chronic diseases. And there are so many varieties to explore. With all of this beanie goodness in mind, at least 1/4 of my plate / gorging trough, whatever you want to call it, consists of legumes in some form. So after maximizing micronutrient and fiber intake from non-starchy vegetables and beans, I want to like triple check that my gorging plate is going to be incredibly satisfying. By the time I am done, I want to feel comfortably full, sated, and content. For that, I look to carbohydrates, which are not only delicious, satiating, and full of micronutrients and fiber, they also promote the transport of the amino acid tryptophan into the brain, where it's used to create serotonin, which encourages feelings of contentment. And after slogging through chronic depression for like 15 years, I will not turn up my nose at that kind of mood boost. As such, the final 1/4 of my plate is in the form of whole, carbohydrate-rich plants, which most often manifests as a whole grain, sweet potato, pumpkin, white potatoes, or some combination thereof. You will notice that we have reached 100% gorging trough capacity, but I'm not done because I'm a 110% kind of girl. Some highly effective plant-based weight loss experts accurately advise that limiting your intake of fat and thus calorie-rich whole plant foods speeds up weight loss. These experts are unquestionably correct. That said, fat-rich whole plant foods do have a lot to offer in the form of essential micronutrients, from providing essential fatty acids and otherwise difficult to find micronutrients like vitamin E, to drastically increasing the absorption of other fat-soluble protective phytonutrients like beta-carotene. Because of this, I generally include a whole plant food source of fat with every meal, usually in the form of avocado, seeds, or nuts. All that said, I am mindful of my portion sizes. God and I have had several conversations about guacamole specifically, but I don't understand why you would make it taste so good if I can't eat it all day. But despite my pleas, it's still really high in calories. And even though it contains good fats, too much of any fat can impede insulin function, leading to blood sugar dysregulation and weight gain. So high-fat plant foods remain the one class of whole plant food that I mindfully restrict. And yeah, I am still a little bitter about it. The next important part of any weight-conscious meal is flavor. Flavor is an exceptionally important step in my experience, especially when transitioning from a standard Western diet, because, let's just be honest, most of us haven't yet learned how to appreciate the subtle yet complex flavors of foods in their unseasoned state. I personally believe, and I have experienced, that great flavor leads to great end-of-meal satisfaction. I like to build flavor first and foremost using salt, sugar, and calorie-free options. Those are things like spices, herbs, garlic, onions, nutritional yeast, and citrus juice and zest. A phenomenal amount of flavor can be created with these simple additions. I have bean recipes that are so flavorful, no one even misses the salt. Once I have built my base flavors with salt and sugar-free options, then I play with condiments to really maximize flavor satisfaction. I did try for several years to white-knuckle willpower my way through eating bland food because it was healthier. And while scientifically that may be accurate, I didn't feel satisfied at the end of my meal, especially when my husband's food was 2 inches from my face, off-gassing an orchestra of aroma compounds that were making my taste buds go crazy. Talk about setting myself up for epic binges on forbidden food. So I ultimately chose to trade in my self-loathing for some condiments. It was a great trade. My favorites are miso paste, tamari, sriracha, miso paste, Tabasco, miso paste, and sweet chili sauce. Did I mention I love miso paste? They know me at the miso factory. However, important caveat, the addition of flavoring ingredients, especially salt and sugar, is well known to significantly increase the amount of food we are willing to eat in a meal, especially if we have access to multiple different flavored dishes within a single meal. This is called sensory-specific satiety. Variations in flavor increase food intake. That's why everyone rolls out of buffets. So being aware of this phenomenon has served me really well in my weight loss journey. If I am planning to be mindful of my food volume, i.e. not stuffing myself until I feel like my gut is going to rupture, I will purposefully stick to 1 to 2 condiment flavors for the entire meal. You may have noticed that my meals are often made up of like more neutral ingredients that are then brought together under one flavor umbrella, as opposed to traditional meals that include main dishes and side dishes that taste very distinct. I like it that way. I find it to be really satisfying and a really good way to let my natural appetite regulating mechanisms actually work. All right, so we have built our perfect plate. Beyond plate technicalities, though equally important, in my humble opinion, it is our mindset and intention while we are preparing and eating our meals. I am a big believer in the power of our inner intention to shape outer reality. Within our standard diet culture, in which calories are demonized and limited, I have noticed that a fear of food predominates. Our body's need for nutrition and our natural appetite begins to be viewed as bad, as wrong, as a weakness. During my decade-long foray into diet and restriction culture, I grew to hate my food. I hated my body for needing food. I hated myself for wanting food and for not being able to resist that food. Food became my nemesis, and it creeped into every moment of every day and made it miserable. So thank goodness we have decided to leave that psychosocial trash in the past and move instead towards embracing an abundance mindset in which food and meals become celebrations of nourishment, celebrations of fulfilling our body's sacred need for nutrition, celebrations of how comforting and wonderful it feels to be full and satisfied all the way down to a cellular level. So when we choose to consciously craft a meal that is physically and psychologically wholesome and nourishing, it feels so important to acknowledge the intention behind this offering. My precious body, I wish you satisfaction. I wish you rejuvenation. I wish you nourishment on every level. I offer you this, a physical manifestation of my deep love and appreciation, so that we may continue onward in our shared existence as our best selves. Also, and my intention is not to freak out anyone out who might have contrary religious beliefs, but real talk, cooking is a form of magic. It is an intention-guided transmutation of the physical world for a specific purpose. Planning a meal, gathering ingredients, methodically preparing those ingredients is a form of spell casting, and I personally believe that it is exceptionally effective to be aware of the mindset and intentions as we prepare nourishment for our bodies and for our families. While I'm cooking, I try as often as possible to infuse that food with prayers for nourishment on every level, with hopes for long-term thriving, enriched with self-love and self-appreciation. Food is the most intimate ways that we interact with our environment, and every level of that interaction has an impact, in my humble opinion. All right, my dear friends, I hope this video has been informative. As usual, please leave additional questions and comments down below or visit me on Instagram, and I do my best to either get back to you directly or to address the question as a topic of a future video. As always, thank you all so much for watching, and extra special thanks to everyone who puts an effort into liking, subscribing, and commenting. It makes a huge difference in terms of the algorithm gods, and I deeply appreciate it. Thank you. All right, my dears, until next time, make better choices for yourselves. No one will do it for you, and take really, really, really good care. I will see you all so soon. Bye! Wee! Wee! I've been watching way too many Instagram reels. Oh, weird elbows. This is my job. Some of my favorites are glands. I love glands. That's not true. I will not eat a gland. Glands. Do you ever catch your face and just realize that, like, you look like an emoji?